Hello out there and welcome to Public Conscience, the anti-corruption program produced by the Progressive Impact Organization for Community Development, PRIMOG. I am Adaobi Obiabumo and I'm with Esther Bassi.
Thanks for joining us. Please watch us on our live stream on Facebook at Official PRIMOG.
On Public Conscience, we seek to evolve a corruption-free society by drawing government and citizens' attention to corruption reports and issues for prompt democratic actions against them. We also promote integrity by amplifying rare cases of the display of honesty by public and private individuals. We appreciate the MacArthur Foundation for supporting the production of this program.
The infrastructure deficit is a major factor militating against Nigeria's development since its independence in 1960. According to experts, Nigeria needs between $100 billion and $150 billion annually over the next 30 years to close its infrastructure deficit. The sad reality is that corruption, non-adherence to procurement laws at the federal and state level is at the center of it all.
In today's program, the spotlight is on Osun State, where a recent investigative report by the International Center for Investigative Reporting (ICIR) indicted the government of flouting procurement laws and standards in the awards of projects worth $1.3 billion between 2019 and 2021. We will also interrogate the reported failure of the Federal Capital Territory Administration (FCTA) to provide information on some of the abandoned projects in Nigeria's capital.
The report revealed that Osun State's public procurement law, which serves as a beacon of transparency and accountability in the public procurement process of the state, was not complied with. Rather, contracts was awarded to non-existent companies. Among other alarming irregularities, the journalist that carried out this investigation will join us shortly with more of this report.
According to the Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supply Management, Nigeria is losing at least 30% of its resources to manipulation of the public procurement process. Today's program seeks to draw the attention of the Osun State government to the investigation and possibly to get to the root of the matter. It is noteworthy that several reports have shown that procurement irregularities are a national problem that needs the urgent attention of states and the federal government. For you out there, how much do you know about contract awards in your locality or state? Do you know that procurement corruption is affecting infrastructure development in Nigeria? Do you think government is doing enough to reduce non-compliance to procurement laws? Is the system punishing culprits of procurement corruption enough? How can the government tackle procurement fraud in Nigeria?
Be ready to join us through phone and text messages during this conversation. The WhatsApp phone line to send your message is 0902-265-6167. That is 0902-265-6167. Please indicate your name and your location when sending your message. This number is for messages only.
Please begin to send your messages as soon as possible to 0902-265-6167. That is 0902-265-6167. We will give out the numbers to call shortly.
If you just joined us, we are looking at an investigative report by the International Center for Investigative Reporting (ICIR) indicting Osun State government of flouting procurement laws and standards in the award of contracts worth 1.3 billion naira, as well as a report on how the Federal Capital Territory Administration (FCTA) has failed to respond to freedom of information requests on abandoned projects in the nation's capital.
And joining us in the studio to have this conversation is the editor at the International Center for Investigative Reporting (ICIR), Victoria Bamas. You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
We also have in the studio the Community Engagement Manager at Connected Development, Code, Mukhtar Modibo. You're welcome too.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we will speak to the journalist who conducted the investigation, Taiwo Fatola, who will join us from Osogbo, the Osun State capital, via the phone. Hello, Taiwo Fatola, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you for joining us. Your report claimed projects worth 1.3 billion naira were awarded to non-existent company by the Osun State government. Could you give us details of this report?
All right. So there were projects awarded by the government of governor of the state between 2019 and 2021. So that was the government of former Governor Boyega, the new Minister for Marine and Sea Economy. So the projects were awarded by some of the MDs of the state, including the State Examination Board, the State Ministry of Health, the State Ministry of Works and Transport, and also the Osun Road Maintenance Agency. So the projects were awarded to one FOTOT Nigeria Limited. Another one was Adexima Nigeria Limited also, and another company. So all the projects were about 7 or 9. So they all awarded to the Non-Existent company. So even apart from that, during my investigation, I also got to notice some other infractions, including budget splitting and even a single project was actually awarded by 2 different procurement entities, 2 different MDAs.
Okay, when you say non-existent, what does that mean?
These are companies that are neither registered with CAC nor could they be found anywhere. You know, sometimes some companies were actually existing, but they are actually not registered. But in this case, it was neither existing nor registered anywhere.
But is the government supposed to engage in procurement process with companies that are not registered with CAC? That's the Corporate Affairs Commission.
Commission, it's not at all. The state public procurement manual and the public procurement law 2015 is actually clear on that. Any company that is coming to get contracts and submitted the tender for any project, the state government must submit some documents which include their certificate of registration with CAC.
Okay, could you throw more light on contract splitting that you talked about earlier?
All right, so that particular project was the drilling of borehole across the PHCs in the state. So the PHCs is about 332. So now when something is to be done in that, so I think the project is to be done across the PHCs in the state. So that kind of project is meant to have been awarded to a single contractor because there was actually nothing peculiar about the project. So it could just have been one. Then we noticed that it was actually split. So most of the time, what those MDs what they do, what they aim to achieve by splitting contract is so that they don't exist, because at different levels of government, where we may have the general manager, the permanent secretary, you have the commissioner, and the government. There is like a benchmark of the amount of the contract amount that each of them can approve. So, probably some people believe they don't want to take it to the person at the next level, so then they just keep it enough at their own level so as to ensure that it doesn't exceed the requirement benchmark for them to approve. That's the issue.
According to your investigation now, there are 2 procurement laws that were breached. That is awarding contracts to non-existent companies and contract splitting.
Yes.
Okay, the report indicted the immediate past governor of Osun State. Has there been any reaction from him or his camp since the report was published?
Alright. Before the report was published, I related my findings to his spokesperson inside Mail Omekidon. So then he was trying to rationalize it that the particular news medium has also reached out to them about the project. I told him that it is my own is something new entirely. Even denied one of the projects that the project don't exist. But well, I couldn't take the matter. So since then they have not really said anything. But before the project was published, we reached out to them with our findings. They couldn't say anything. After it was published, they not said anything.
Okay, Taiwo, but did your investigation uncover identities of officials who were party to the contracts award and the irregularities?
Not really. Only the state governor, because I wouldn't know because the power in the state, so also are all these commissioners and permanent secretaries as well. So we wouldn't, except that I met with the general manager of Osun Road Maintenance Agency, and he told me that I think he was still the general manager as of that period, 2019-2021. He told me that his own agency knew nothing about the project, so he wouldn't know how the contract got listed against his agency on the OCDS portal.
Okay, so what about the state government? Any reaction from them following your reports and its published?
Okay. Yes. I think after the story was published, the spokesman to the state governor, Mr. Olaole Rashid, had said that they were going to forward the report to the State Ministry of Justice for follow-up. But I have not heard anything about it since then.
What of the public procurement agency at the state? What of the public procurement agency at the state? Has there been any reaction from them?
No. There's no reaction from the Osun public procurement agency.
So from your own, after the investigation and your interaction with them, what would be your advice to the Osun state government at this point?
Well, going forward, the government should ensure that they adhere strictly to the laws. The laws are there just for them to enforce the laws. So the laws are there. The government should ensure that every law that will be made by the state is actually strictly adhered in the public procurement process, so as to ensure transparency and accountability in the process, and ensure that there is no corrupt practices. Okay,
what about the citizens at Osun State? Are there things that they can do differently?
Well, the people should only be more conscious. Yes, the people should show more interest in all these things. So people should ask questions. So when the government officials know that people will ask questions, then they will be pushed to do what is right. People should show more optimism in the public procurement process and business of the government.
All right, thank you so much, Taiwo Fatola, investigative reporter with the International Center for Investigative Reporting at ICIR at Osogbo, the Osun State capital. Thank you for joining us at this time.
Thank you.
In the studio, we still have Victoria Bomas, the editor at ICIR, and Muktag Modibo, who is the community engagement manager at Connected Development. Muktag, could you continue with your thought?
So, like I was saying, it's actually really unfortunate that we get to see government being handled like a public entity being handled like a private entity. So, one of the things I know, there are a lot of things to the report aside the issue of issuing a contract to non-existent companies and what have you. I know during the report we form part of the report as our local partner in the state, Urban Alad, happened to be part of the question. The main issue for me as of then was the issue of FOI. Now a lot of freedom of information laws were sent, and then the state keeps saying we need clearance from the Ministry of Justice, which is a problem. Despite the fact that we all know that FOI laws in Nigeria is subject to domestication in states, which I don't understand what that language means. I know it's only Delta State as we speak now that has domesticated the FOI, and it's practically, let me say, it's a kudos to them, but it's not been implemented, right? So there are a lot of violations, and then the government has the previous administration that awarded this contract did not say anything, so there was no conversation from whether or not why that was done. And from the first instance, there is no procurement that said one company should submit a bid and then that same company should be awarded.
That's why it's called competitive bidding.
Fantastic. And aside that, if you look at the report critically, you notice that the chairman of a particular agency said he is not aware of that particular thing. That is to show you something happens elsewhere before even the awarding of the contract. So the reality is, I always say, you cannot be in a public place and want to address the public issue in a private way. All right, there is no way you can give a company that is not registered and then violate that issue of right of company must be registered to come into. There is no procurement procedures, there is nothing, but the thing appeared. But I just want us to understand one thing. This thing did not just happen, it's not just happening in Osun, it's happening elsewhere. But for Osun is being uncovered now, right? Now when it got uncovered, if you check the contract, I mean it's boldly written on all the platforms that this contract has been awarded. Now the question is, we're not talking about only the violation. The people in communities might not be concerned about whether or not the company is registered or not. They want to benefit from the particular boreholes. They want to benefit from that. Have those things been provided? And what are the bills of quantity to those particular things, which has been an issue in question. Now, there are 323 primary health cares that were supposed to benefit from the said borehole. Now, among the 323, how many primary health care have a functional borehole as we speak in the state? Right, that is part of this contract. If you check it, it's practically, zero, because the contract did not even continue, and the releases has been done. Right, so the reality is, I think, as people, we need to also go back to our drawing book and see how we can continue to ask questions. And guess what? The chief executive of that administration, or the governor of the state, is presently a minister. So it will give you one thing to, as a public, as someone that is in a rural area, that the people that are doing bad are the ones that are being rewarded. The people that are doing good are the ones that don't get anything. Because presently he left being a governor, right, because he did not got in second time. That's to tell you the people are conscious of what has happened, but he was rewarded to being a minister of a fresh new ministry. So I don't know what will happen. Ministry of Blue Economy or something. What will happen with a fresh ministry that will a thing that will contribute largely to the economical growth of the country, not just the particular subnational government or state that he is managing. And that is the question we need to ask ourselves.
So there are lots of questions to be asked.
A lot of them.
All right, so let's get to Victoria Thomas. A lot has been said already, but I want to get your own reaction to the procurement irregularities in Osun State, and what you think is propelling government officials to go into these actions.
So he has actually made quite a number of points. The interesting thing is when, let's say, a reporters actually request for information, like so the government usually will say they do not have money maybe to monitor, to do this, to do that. You now have reporters or people like organizations like ours who are willing to do the legwork for you. You expect that they will be welcoming that, because we'll go with our resources, with our time, we'll check all this. All you need to do is to verify. But you will now start seeing roadblock here and there, left, right, and center. This one will say, no, you have to meet this person, you have to meet this person, you have to meet the Ministry of Justice. And the Ministry of Justice, interestingly, who you expect that should be proactive, are definitely not proactive. So it's quite sad that such is happening. And of course, at the end of the day, it's the people that are at the receiving end. And like he stated, some of these contracts that are even given, it's not even that these people are just the companies are not registered. It's that some of them are not even implementing or executing this contract that they've collected.
That's another level. So what do you think is making government officials neck deep into this action?
Okay, so now this will just be speculations of, it's definitely maybe corruption, like he said, something about treating public business like a private business. So probably somewhere some people are getting maybe a cut, they are getting kickback, they are getting or even probably rewarding it to family members or relatives. So those are the reasons why people will actually circumvent already stated rules and regulations. And Osun is a state that I think they've already signed their own procurement law, so it's something that they have. So
but what is obtainable? Do you think the government, both state and federal level, is doing enough to tackle the procurement corruption with what you've seen so far?
I do not have now this is just my opinion. I do not think they are doing enough. Why I say that, of course they always complain they do not have fund, they can't actually oversee this, but one thing that will show that they are really working towards it is to allow people investigation, people like us and other civil society organizations that want to look into this on their behalf. If they give us free access to do that for them, it will actually show good faith from their part that yes, they really want to tackle procurement issues.
Now let's shift to talk about some of the reasons why some government agencies engage in procurement corruption. How strong are punishment for procurement irregularities in Nigeria?
That's the problem. I mean, there's the thing is, if you go back to where we were before before now. The issues of before us joining into a bigger framework of open government partnership has always been an issue of contracts being violated, procurement and what have you. And then the growth of BPP, right, has been, I would say, amazing in a work format, because I mean we got this to see the giving birth of Nokopo, right? Nokopo has been doing some sort of like putting, if you want to check procurement laws, procurement things, you go on Nokopo and then check, and then you sort of see. But did we really continue with that process? It's a question. Now, what are the punishment, as you ask? For me, right, I'm not a big fan of punishment. I'm a big fan of, can we stop it before it happens, right? You cannot be the best while starting, but you can be the best while doing, right? So what am I trying to say? We've got in 2011, right, we got a bigger point of what is called freedom FOI in 2011, and FOI has been in existence for over 273 years, right? It started in Sweden. I'm sure South Africa was the first country to sign in Africa, followed by Liberia and Nigeria, right? These are points that will sort of support us to put out that information out there for people to be able to ask, right? Are you giving people that question? All what we're doing as civil society organization is support the system, right? You are implementing, right? So if we're supporting you, give us access. That's a point. Now, if you're putting that lay down rules, how do we do our procurement? When we put out call for bidding on tenders and what have you, how effective our tender documents are? Do you know that some agencies don't put out tender? The tender is just in between, like in at the back, people will come in and collect. I bet you this. I used to know an agency that if you get into the agency at some point, the previous administration ordered forensic audit on that particular agency because of the way contracts fly around. You go in and then everybody will be asking you, do you want to buy? That. Till today, the report of that forensic audit is not out. I don't know if you've seen it or she has seen it as an editor, but I've not seen it. Right? So the thing is, how do we tackle it before it gets there? We have a bigger framework, that's the open government partnership. How effective do we look at procurement? Issues of ownership, issues of service delivery within the framework of open government partnership. We've done very woefully bad.
So you're saying the punishments are not stringent enough?
The punishments, to some extent, are not really there. Cases like that will stay in court for years. We have to strengthen a lot of system for us to achieve those things. It's not just about the punishment. An agency cannot just say, okay, we're punishing you because you've not done that. They'll take you to court, right? How strengthened our judiciary is, what are the time frame, what are the framework of that? So you'll stay maybe 3, 4, 5 years on a case, right? And at the end of the day, the case will not even come with that point of that serious punishment. Just as you that have been doing this with Primo, have you had any case of a contract violation that leads to someone being jailed and what have you? I'll give you an example. The new Minister of Works was in the eastern part of the country at some point, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he met a contractor. Guess what he told the contractor? The contractor has no capacity. What he said is, we are putting a stop on this contract for you to see the legal department so that you can partner with another company that can implement, that have the capacity, that can implement this, right? And then you partner with them and continue the project. Not that he is withdrawing the project because the contractor lacks capacity. He was on national television and then nobody was talking about
so
it.
What you have just said is that the government is not doing enough.
I think the government can do better.
Okay, thank you for that. You initially mentioned FOI as a tool to help the government to be transparent in their spending so that citizens can be carried along. But we have Victoria Bamas here who would give us, throw more light on the reports by the ICIR looking at the federal government, Federal Capital Territory Administration, who was said to have consistently failed to provide information on some of the abandoned projects in Abuja. Could you throw more light on that, Victoria?
Oh, okay. So, at the ICI, we actually have a FOIA desk, that's FOI desk, whereby we make requests, and of course, because we do investigation, so you need a lot of information. So, for the FCTA, since last year, I think that was June, there are some contracts we've been trying to follow, So, we sent at least, as at July this year, we've sent like 6 FOIs, and we just don't send for a request and stuff. We also send reminders, and we've actually they were not responding. And not just that, we still have reporters going to the offices to do follow up, to give you a reminder that okay, we send this, but they've not actually been cooperative. So it's just something that I don't know why government just want to stay closed. Of course, maybe somebody somewhere is benefiting some. That's why.
So for financial interest,
there is a possibility.
So for all the requests you sent, none was responded to.
Yeah. So eventually, because after sending to FCTA, in some of them we copied FCDA. So FCDA responded to some of them, but not necessarily providing the information, but maybe to acknowledge or to tell you, okay, this information, just stuff, but not still giving us what we requested for. But FCTA, no, they do not even respond.
Okay, we'll continue the conversation, but we need to get the person listening at the other end of the dial to join the conversation.
For you out there, please follow us on our social media platforms at Official Primog. Primog is spelled PRIMORG. Remember that we are streaming live on Facebook at Official Primog.
And remember that this program is interactive. The WhatsApp phone line to send your message to is 0902-265-6167. That is 0902-265-6167. This number is for messages only. Would like to know your contribution to the conversation. How much do you know about contract awards in your state or your locality? Do you know that procurement corruption is affecting infrastructure development in Nigeria?
The phone numbers to call are 090 30,000 899 090, 30,000 899 080, 998 770 080, 998 770 and 0809. We have a call?
Yes, please. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, good morning. Your name and where you're calling us from?
My name is Adebayo from Airport Road.
Let's hear you, Adebayo. How well do you know about procurement corruption in Nigeria?
The percentage is more than 1,000%.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you know why I said so? Just like what your one of your best said, all the government procurement or contract, as the case may be, they are done in privacy. In fact,
it cannot be all the government contracts.
All of them, that is being publicized or follow normal procedure. That's what I'm saying. They might publicize it, but the process of awarding it is whom you know, who has the better connection, whether you are not qualified or not. Like what somebody just said now. If a minister go to a site and tell that the person is not qualified, what is it not immediately? Does it need legal requirements before it will stop the person? So, but all of them are beneficiaries. That's why it's like that. And what I want to advise that no contract should be awarded on privacy. If you award the contract, maybe you road from a particular point to a particular, let the people of the community know. Let the people know the time frame. Okay, this contract is being awarded for so date to so date, so that the beneficiaries, the communities can monitor the project, whether it's being executed or not. But in Nigeria, you will not hear anything. The government is part of the problem. Not any other person is the problem, is the government.
Are you also aware that there is a procurement portal for the federal government? There's a portal by the Bureau of Public Procurement, NOCO program, one of my guests mentioned.
Auntie, madam, it's just the paperwork. Nigeria, we are very good in paperwork. So they know, send whatever you want to send, they will not do anything about it.
All right, thank you so much for your contribution. Modibo, you were smiling when he said that all the contracts in Nigeria are private, contracted to or awarded to individuals privately. And I don't think that is possible.
Yeah, to be honest, I always say there is that lack of trust between the citizen and government, which is a big issue, right? So I just want I feel his own issue there, but it can't be all government issues. But why fake news or why misinformation thrive is because the real news is not out there. So I think it's open for government to put out the information out there for people to know and see how citizens can be enlightened on this particular thing, so that one, it can we can shy away from that misinformation and fake news, and two, the citizen can get ownership of these particular things they are government is providing for them, and three, citizen can be able to follow up, because it's a citizen-led government. There is no government without citizen, and they will be citizen. They will not be citizen without the government. We send these people to represent us. They represent us well by giving us the required information for us to follow up with that information. I think that is the best way to put it.
All right, thank you. Let's take this call. Hello.
Hello, please, anybody, just give me 30 seconds. What I'm saying is this. I'm not saying that maybe they don't complete that, but what I'm saying is that if governor or minister or president have a private contract, maybe to build a personal house, did they inspect it? And if the contractor mess up, they will not punish the person. But when they award public contract, no, they will not even give the information that so contract is being awarded to so company between the period of so date to another so date. So then, if you can do that one, there is time frame for their own personal contract. But there is no time frame for public contract. That means they are part of it. Even though you want to cajole and publicize, I'm telling you, go and investigate. Just very few people, like some governors, they will be open and they will see them commissioning the project. But the majority of them, they don't do anything. And our problem will never stop. This is how we will continue. Unless, even the budget, let's start from the budget.
You have 30 seconds to wrap up, please.
Okay, so please, let them publicize Kaduna Kano Road is being awarded to Susu company at the rate of Susu within period of Susu. Then everybody will monitor it.
All right, thank you so much. Victoria, he said that the government should publicize the procurement or the contract award. Aside from the upload on the procurement portal, how else should the government ensure that the citizens are carried along?
So generally, many procurement laws have, many of them actually are put forward that when they need to award the contract, the award process, you actually have to advertise, put in national daily or maybe state daily, something like that. So that's one of the ways they can do it. But the truth is, we the citizens, that's Nigerians, are also not as interested for whatever reason. It might be due to trust deficit or what have you. We're also not as invested in this as we should. Why I'm saying this is because if you ask any random person, most states have maybe like their own version of Nokopo website, that's open contracting portal, where they update this information, but very few people are aware of it. And some of this information is even updated, so they can actually know about this and take ownership. That's basically what I'm saying. The citizens on their part needs to do that. Then also the citizens on their part, when we do reports like this, like recently we did in Kano, in fact two investigations in Kano, whereby we found out that lawmakers were actually awarding themselves contracts. There is even one, he awarded himself contract and he didn't even execute it, and people were dying from cholera and waterborne disease because those were the contract he's supposed to do. This person is still currently in government and people are not doing anything. So you expect that the people under his constituency should actually take this report and actually hold their representative to action. So I think governments and everyone are getting away with it because people are not holding them to action, holding them accountable.
Okay, thank you for that. You need to hold your elected representatives accountable. The numbers again to call us 090. Okay, let's take this call. Hello.
I'm Comrade Israel from Agbara.
Okay, thank you, Comrade Israel. How would you react to the conversation?
Well, I don't think it's a new thing in this part of the world that the government putting money into no account. But one thing that surprised me that the state in question, because we knew how the man got into power. So I don't think he should be able to do that at this early stage of his government.
No, it's not the current state governor that is indicted in the report. It's the former governor, which is Emra Oyetola.
Okay, Oyetola, the governor Oyetola, right?
Oyetola.
Oh, okay.
Oyetola.
Yes, please, Oyetola.
So if I was thinking maybe it is this present government. But
No, it's not the current one.
I think it's the norms in this part of the world. Until a government lifts up it before you can know the wrong he has done. So I think that investigation, if it is real, I think it should be published so that people can know how true it can be. But I think it should be a lesson to those in government now that whatever they do, some people somewhere are watching and are taking their record. So that's my take on it.
Okay, thank you so much for that. We have a message here from Samson in Abuja, and it says issues on procurement process in Nigeria should be taken very seriously. There is a serious trust deficit in our society.
We have message from
Please go ahead.
GM Higher Ground. He said if the current opposition starts going after the last administration, some censored media would whip up sentiments that she is witch hunted. That's it from Facebook.
All right, thank you so much for that. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, your name and where you're calling us from.
I'm calling from Pape.
Obiora from Pape, let's hear you. But what can citizens like you and I do?
We never have government. We never have government. That is how the case will end. Nobody can talk to me about what that is allowed.
Okay, but do you expect God to come down and help us? Why don't we help ourselves?
Well, we help ourselves now. What is that? We did it there, you had the children at the top. Every morning, every day, for many years now, I will at the top. Did we have any change for Nigeria to that time? Did you have any change? At the top for Latio?
Yes, we have some changes. It may not be as much as you expect it, but there are changes.
Well, my sister, I don't know that they try. If you want to even for those things going at the top, nothing like change for Nigeria. Unless we help what see the thing we love what they do. If then I'm level for our hands, we go come out, matches go come out. But if matches come out, what if the people were there for all those things? We come out and well, how many police go kill? How many army go kill? So if they are like that, they talk every morning. I don't nothing can change for Nigeria.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Obiora from Pape. That is just again to buttress the fact that my guest initially talked about trust deficit. How can the government ensure that it bridges the gap between the governed and the government? Victoria Bamas.
So at the end of the day, first thing first, you need to start building on those trusts, and that's by saying if they say they do and following up on some of those things already. And following up on issues like this, I would expect, like in the Osun State instance, for instance, the new governor should have, this issue is something he should have followed, since that you expect, because they're even in different parties, and the way he came into power and everything. But currently there is, except if something is ongoing in the background, but currently there's been a bit of silence there. So I think the government need to be more proactive, they need to be more transparent, and they need to, as a matter of urgency, and they need to take action, like the instance he gave, whereby the Minister of Work was saying, was saying, look for somebody to partner and do. That shouldn't be. If they use 1, 2, 3, 4 persons as, let me use the word, scapegoats, other persons will fall into line. We know that if I violate, if I go against these rules or what have you, there is action, there is punishment, for it. So I think currently there is no really deterrent. The deterrent against doing all those kind of things are not there. So if people know that, automatically a whole lot of persons will fall in line, and it will also improve the trust between the government, and when the government speak, people will actually believe them.
All right, thank you. We have a message from Collins, and he says, my opinion is that the government should try and monitor any contract they award or give out. Thank you so much, Collins, for your contribution. Keep them coming. The numbers again to call are 080-998-770 or 0809-40,072. Do we have a message via Facebook?
Yes, we have another message from Higher Ground. It says citizens are deliberately impoverished, and so they can group with struggles to meet basic needs. So someone who is struggling to be alive will think of checking on the excess of government. So he's trying to say that, will someone that is struggling to live now check on the excess of the government?
We need to be interested, because Nigeria belongs to all of us. As we begin to wrap up, what would be your advice to the Osun State government at this time, Mokhtar?
So first of all, I think they are government, right? And there is that opening for them to also look inward and see what the previous administration has done. And I know that's what happened during handover notes. This is whenever the committee is being said, this is the things they look at, from debt to issues of contract and what have you. So I think is good for them to maybe continue pursuing what these things and see whether or not, it's another thing to award contract, and it's another thing to make a release and start implementation. And just to clarify one thing, each and every government contract, be it subnational, that is state, local government, development areas, or federal government, all of them have lifespan, all of them have framework. They have time, maybe 12 months, 24 months, 23 months, or what have you, right? So let them look at whether or not the contract that was awarded was released, and then the contract has been implemented. If not, the contractor, I don't know how they are going to get the contractor, because there are no names attached to the contractor, and then they are not registered. So I don't know how that will happen. Obviously, the chief executive as of then have some questions to answer, because all approval gets to him. That's what I can say on that. And I'm sure the Ministry of Justice and the civil society organizations in that particular state and in every other state will stand up and push the conversation. Let it not be, this is just a conversation that, okay, don't affect me because I don't do health, or I don't do education, I do climate change. There is climate smart education. If you do gender, there is gender responsive public service. You can always jump in to see that, because it has to do with primary health care, our examination issues. So in a nutshell, what I'm trying to say is, can the information be out there by the state government and empowering citizens to ask questions? Can the permanent secretaries be involved? Ask them what happened, because they vet all these things before being passed on.
Well,
so let everybody be involved.
Thank you very much. Lots of questions that begging for answers. And now to Victoria Bamas. FOI remains a very useful tool for demanding accountability from the government. What is your advice to the FCTA on the need to provide Nigerians with FOI information regularly?
So my advice is it's actually for them to actually open up the government, give us access. We are actually volunteering to help them do part of their work, like take this burden off them. So they should actually see us as partners in progress, that they should know that they can't do all these things alone. And one of the ways they can actually deliver this good governance they are promising people is to actually make open this information that we're requesting. So it's going to help the governance in the long run.
Thank you so much for that. Public procurement process. Public procurement is a process by which government buys goods and services and works it needs to function and maximize public welfare. We should all get involved. And that's how we are wrapping it up on today's program.
Please visit our news website, primognews.org, that is primognews.org, to get all the details of our reports and interviews. Visit our website, www.primog.org, to get all the information about Primog.
And you can watch our videos on Primog TV or YouTube channel. Please subscribe to get reminders when we have a new post. We sincerely appreciate our guests. The editor at the International Center for Investigative Reporting, ICIR, Victoria Bamos. Thank you for being a part of today's program.
My pleasure.
We also appreciate the Community Engagement Manager at Connected Development, Code, Mukhtar Modibo. Thank you for being here after a very long time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And also to Taiwo Fachola, who the investigative journalist with the ICIR, who joined us on phone from Osun State. Public Conscience has the support of the John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation, committed to building a more just, verdant and peaceful world. Get more information about the foundation on its website, macfound.org.
Join us again here next week for another episode of Public Conscience, and remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, which is same as X, and Instagram at Official Primog. I am Esther Basi.
Remember that birth registration and birth certificates are free if your child is under 18. Help stop the corruption in birth registration and do not pay for birth certificates. Also remember that you can give us information or hints about corrupt acts through our phone at 0902-265-6167 or info@primog.org. I am Adelbi Obiabumo. Stay safe.